Welcome back to the College Football UK podcast brought to you by the AEW Network. I am your host, Fletch, and as always, I am joined by Sam and Gary. No Nick this week. How are you two lovely people?
Doing all right. Ticking over. Glad to be back. Glad to catch up with everyone. Glad to see everyone.
Yeah, all good here. Well, just about all good.
Just
Slowly
about recovered.
recovering from the weekend.
No worries. Also, in our 83 episodes of recording, we have Adam from College Football UK View to join us for his 167th appearance in this 83 episodes. We have uh, everybody's favourite. We've missed you. The fans have missed you. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me back on again. It's almost false advertising calling me a guest at this point. I'm here
It
so
is.
often, but uh, good to be back
Part
on.
of the furniture now, mate. Part of the
Part of the
furniture.
furniture. Part of the furniture. But yeah, I guess I could have been on a few weeks ago if Oregon hadn't fluffed their lines, talking about a deeper run in the playoff, but it was not meant to be. So pleased to be on to wrap things up.
I think the college football gods were saying, "No, Adam, have a break. You don't need
You
these
don't
people
need to
for
do
a couple of
another
weeks.
podcast.
You don't
Yeah.
need to come on
Um,
again.
you
Again.
need to have one relaxing Wednesday evening." Um, with the 2025 season in the rear view, Indiana are the national champions, and we only have the Senior Bowl to go on Saturday. That is it. The Shrine Bowl was yesterday. I thought it'd only be right if we took a bit of a look back down memory lane at the season as a whole, go through some storylines, some moments, some worst moments, and then I've got a test for you all to do at the end. So I've got my
It's not
Michigan.
even Fletcher's trivia. It's Fletcher's testing.
Yes, it's a test, but what I will say is we are all in this together. I will join. No, I'm in this too as part of this test. Um,
With the
Fletch quoting
answers.
High School Musical there.
so we're all don't because I'll do the dance if I have
So,
to. I know the
I
dance.
was going to say he's gonna crack out his basketball jersey and away he goes.
Um, so I have a lot of weirdly adult memory linked things to High School Musical, more than childhood memory
Moving
linked
swiftly
to
on.
high school. Um,
Moving swiftly on.
Before we get into it, don't forget to follow the AAW network on social media, join our free to join Discord server, and connect with our wonderful, wonderful guests too. You can find all, I say guest, we're not saying guest anymore, are we? We're just not false advertising this. You can find all of the relevant links and information in the description of this episode. If you are on YouTube, they are right below our beautiful faces. I say ours, their three beautiful faces and my face. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify or any other audio based version, then you can find them inside the app that you are listening on. We want to, before we start, I do want to say as well, a huge thank you to, we've had some extra, particularly on YouTube, so I'm going to look directly into the camera so you can actually see it. A couple of people lately have been very active within YouTube and comments and things like that. I just want to say a huge thank you to you if you are interacting with us on YouTube in particular. Really, really grateful for it. Please also turn them into Discord joins, turn them into social media follows as well. But anytime someone feels passionate enough to go in interact with our content, I know that we're all very, very grateful. So I want to just say a huge thank you for that. Um, been a busy week for me, so I haven't really been checking news. Has anyone got any big pieces of news from the last week? There's no Nick, so anything on
I've got
Gary?
a couple. Um, a lot of the thing is that a lot of the news now at the moment is all still about transfer portal stuff and sort of all of that. But the only things that I've kind of picked up on was that Deion Sanders has tightened up on his rules. Basically, he's said that if you're going to be late, it's a $500 fine. I'm sure there's a few more in there, but again, it's just sort of setting expectations. I think those will probably creep up the more Nils getting involved. Um, to, Clendon Thomas, Hall of Fame running back from Oklahoma in the 1950s, has died at the age of 90. So obviously, commiserations to his family, but that is, pretty great life to have lived. And obviously, there's still a lot of people around that are probably, you know, obviously saddened by that. But, just thought it was worth a mention. And then the final bit I've got, which obviously has already been mentioned. Well, we've talked a little bit off air, but the ACC, sorry, has moved their title game to noon in the schedule drop, so a change in the schedule. And then the final bit I had was, and again, this sort of falls in nicely, is that Oregon have landed Sam Ngata, who's the son of the former NFL All-Pro. So obviously, Haloti Ngata, obviously huge name in the sport. So, it was a great move, and obviously you get a lot of these things happen in terms of players coming through. Famed players, and some work out, some don't. But if he's anything size-wise like his dad, then I'm sure he'll be a great
Ducks have got a good one if he is, yeah.
So that's all the news I've had.
Yeah, it was interesting, the ACC move. I like it from it means it's easier for us to watch it from a UK perspective, but also, I have a slight concern. Is it the ACC? Have they realised that they are falling behind and they're not getting the viewers from the Big Ten, and they had to always compete with viewership? So they've had to kind of go, well, look, guys, hey, we're making a big move. We're going at noon. Actually, what they're realizing is nobody's watching the ACC because it's absolutely pants. It's the worst of the big four divisions. Let's put it on at noon so that we actually do get some viewers. What are you guys' thoughts?
So probably also the threat from the Pac-12 being reformed as well, which, in a sense, obviously they were part of the bigger groups, and that may be a way to kind of put the ACC a bit back on the stage at the threat of potentially that, because although it probably won't happen yet, I mean, there is the real possibility that if the Pac-12 gets enough funding and enough support, that may then swap, either
they may take some of their players, take some of their teams back.
So it's possible, but I think at this stage it's just a way of probably trying to compete with the other big three, and then also the looming potential that the Pac-12 or the new formed Pac-12
all-state Pac-12.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think that it's a circular argument as well with the ACC, because their new deal, from memory, from the beginning of the year included some performance payments, I think, for TV, either viewers or eyeballs on the sport. So they're probably looking as well at their conference saying, come on, guys, you need to put us in an advantageous position to deliver on that. And that's not competing against some of the others. So give us our own slot.
It probably does also coincide with the fact that the Big 12 have moved their championship game to the Friday night. So, say if you're competing against I'm pretty sure the SEC one was on Friday night this year, wasn't it? There were 4 on the Friday night.
Wasn't it because it was holiday weekend, though? It was slightly different, wasn't it? They're not.
I'm not quite sure, but I'm not quite sure.
Labor Day weekend or one of those holiday weekends or something.
Well, Labor Day weekend is week 0. Although
the Labor Day weekend's much earlier, isn't it?
Obviously, Thanksgiving being a bit before that as well, and
I think it was a holiday weekend, but I can't remember what one.
I'm almost certain you have the SEC one on the Friday night and the Big Ten one on the Saturday night, because obviously you don't want to split that viewership. No. But the Big 12 have moved theirs to this Friday night as well. So that probably, it just opens up and frees up some time on that Saturday. And if you can go out and get that slot when people are probably, like, you still kind of want college football all day. All eyes are on you, but you're kind of waiting for the evening a little bit more than anything on a championship.
They'll get the viewers numbers, but they won't get the eyeballs as such, because it will be one of those people will throw it on in the background in preparation for later on, because it's the ACC game, right? It's going to be Duke against Boston College or whoever it was this year.
To be fair, even this year, though, the ACC game was great. It was a really good game. Yeah. So we've had some supplement. Do we have anything on Gary's Gazette?
No. Empty this week.
Nope. I'll say Fletch's forum's empty, and Adam, I'm trialing something here. We're going with Adam's addendum or Adam's agenda. I mean, you take your pick. There aren't very many that go with A. This is why I choose to use Fletch
Agenda
instead.
sounds like I've got nefarious
Yeah, it does.
with it. So maybe we'll
What,
go with the agenda.
what about an Adam's appendix? And that also sounds
And
like it's
that's
a
taken
medical
an
thing.
even
Yeah.
weirder turn.
I don't know
On
if you
my agenda,
realized. I don't know if you
we,
realized the verbiage you said then. You said agenda sounds like I've got something nefarious, so we'll go with agenda. Like I like it. I'm all for it.
I'm all for it. I've got the
what was
pair.
the first? What was the first option?
Addendum.
Addendum. Let's go with addendum. That's the one. In my addendum, no, that sounds weirder as well. In my news list, so Darren Mensah obviously settled with Duke. I don't know if we spoke about that before.
Yeah. No, we haven't. We haven't.
So obviously Duke were not particularly happy about him trying to enter the portal and walk, given the NIL contract they wanted to enforce. They've gone to a courtroom, figured it out behind closed doors, settled, and he is now free to commit to Miami, which would
Already
be,
done it, I think, hasn't he?
I think he has committed today, hasn't he? So
Well, on socials, then at least, anyway, I think.
yeah, so all's well that ends well. It's not something you want to see too much of.
Yeah.
Players and their schools ending up in court. Probably something we'll see a lot more of. At least this one's settled for now.
Apparently, he's stolen his wide receiver as well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Saw that. So yeah, there's the other key thing in my addendum, stroke agenda, stroke list.
So I've incorporated the
stroking your
help of
addendum.
ChatGPT here. So maybe we could let the viewers decide. I don't know if something really jumps
Oh
out
no,
to you.
no, we'll end up with him voting with both,
Voting.
basically. Like,
Adam's analysis. Well, I think it's not quite for news items. We've got Adam's almanac,
oof, that's a mouthful.
Adam's archive, Adam's abstract, Adam's angle, Adam's argument, but we're not arguing. Adam's assessment, Adam's appraisal, Adam's anecdotes. I like that one. Adam's asides, Adam's afterward, and Adam's addendum, and it pairs beautifully with Sam's supplement, apparently.
There it is then. Addendum is
Addendum. That's a word that we're gonna have to all start getting used to saying. That's fine. I like it. It's a nice. Do you know what? That's a pleasing word to hear. I quite like that word.
addendum.
Addendum.
In my line of work, I hear it far too much. Oh.
So, well, we'll move on from the addendums, the gazettes, the forums, and the supplements anyway, and we will get on to the 2025 season. As has been mentioned, we have one game left. That is the Senior Bowl on Saturday, available on NFL Network. So this is one of the two games all year that you would have had to pay for because you can't any Game Pass to go with it to get NFL. In fact, I don't know if they do put out just generic NFL Network stuff on the Zone for free as just the channel. I wouldn't know. I don't pay.
Not sure.
So I do pay for it. I do pay for Game Pass. That's not a lie. I wouldn't know because I pay for it. Anyway, today is not a difficult one. I think everything's in front. Everything's behind us now. We can turn around, see everything in front of us. We'll go to the preseason, right? We'll start off with the preseason. I think that's definitely the best place to start. So, what do you want to start? What did the preseason tell us that turned out to be false? And there were a few things in here, and we've already done an episode on this.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Was it Arch Manning's Heisman winning campaign in July? Was it Penn State national championship in
being
August?
actually good?
What was the biggest? I think
it was
preseason hype during the season letdown.
I think the biggest one probably is Arch Manning, but I think that's more anyone outside of Texas, really, because if you spoke to most Texas fans, we would have all said, let's not gas him up yet, sort of thing, because we'd only seen him in a few games. and he had pretty much a brand new team. Like there was so much that wasn't going in his favor at the start, and I think that it was almost just a way for the media to kind of put him on this pedestal to knock him off. And that was kind of the running then talk about the whole season was, oh well, he's not Heisman level quality. Is he actually going to, can he step up and play in the NFL? And it's like, this kid's been in college 2 years. Give him a break. But I suppose on top of that, I think just the complete like kind of flip on the quarterbacks that were expected to be elite this year compared to the ones that were. Because I mean, you had the talk of obviously Nussmeier, Klubnik, Arch Manning. All of these were meant to be sort of at the top of the tree, potentially going for Heisman, etc., and actually ended up being
None of them.
Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson. I think he was probably one of the ones that was in the conversation, but wasn't maybe high on the
Yeah, he
conversation.
wasn't hyped as much, was he?
Obviously, Julian saying again a lot coming out of high school for him. People were expecting him to be okay, probably not as good as he was. Again, I think there was a lot of hype around Bryce Underwood. He started off well and then kind of I would say he mellowed out, but kind of just fell into routine a bit and wasn't the star that probably people were, again, putting him on this pedestal to be. So I think for me, the biggest story is just kind of, I think the wider context of just the unpredictability of college football and how.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's a good one, isn't it? Because you say, Nussmeier, all these names that are on everybody's lips, but after a while, and the joys that is college football, that it was a completely different set of players that weren't, in the top 10 and top 15, top 20 of that list originally from most people. You wouldn't have picked, well, Mendoza might have been there and thereabouts because they probably thought the Hoosiers were going to be pretty good, but the rest of them came out of nowhere, bolt from the blue. So that's, an indication of, is it an indication, I suppose, of the balance in college football shifting to a more even playing field for everyone else, or is it just everyone got it wrong in the off season?
I think it does demonstrate the flattening of that talent pool across a wider group of teams.
Yeah.
I think we saw it play out in real time, where and the result of that is we just didn't know, what you thought. The traditional way of looking at things just didn't hold true. I mean, I'm looking at my preseason top 25. I had Texas 1, Penn State 2, Clemson 5, and then LSU 8. And, they all just disappeared, just melted away. And, that was probably based on the old way of look at things, where certain teams have the talent or the talent, blue bloods, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Well, Indiana with their 2.5-star quarterback come and change the game. And, half a G5 team. So, I think that model, I think it really showed for me the lesson is the model has really changed. It's more than just who's got the most talent, it's who can use it, who can coach it, and who can put a culture around it as well.
So, according to, I'm on Sports Reference, the college football part of Sports Reference. So I don't know which better they are referring to, but I'll go through the championship odds in America. They're in American betting format, so it's the plus whatever number. If you can do the conversions, great. If not, I'm not doing them mentally. Texas were number 1 at plus 450. Ohio State were number 2 at plus 525. Georgia at plus 700. Penn State at plus 700. Clemson and Oregon were both plus 900. Alabama were plus 1,000. Notre Dame plus 1,200. And LSU plus 1,400.
What were Indiana out of interest?
Indiana, where I'm gonna have to scroll there, Sam. You're making me scroll. It's easier to just do the fine thing, isn't it? So,
but either way, they were
10,000.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, like it
One
just
to one.
shows you that how different, people's thoughts were at the start. And this is why I think, you hear a lot of people talking about the lack of importance of bowl season and the potential, or the talk of, or the talk of potentially moving that to the start of the following season. And now I know it's like we've had the conversation around, well, all the people who are in, who are seniors who never got to play in a bowl. It's like, well, that'd be shit. But at the end of the day, you need to find I think the way that they currently do the seedings at the start of the season, just like Texas were ranked number 1, and it was like ended up finishing what, 14th, 15th, something like that. And it's like spent most of the season out or very near, at least outside the top 10. And you just think that why are we making such bold decisions based upon nothing? Essentially, it's
very
all
arbitrary, isn't it? It's all very much like, I like Texas, they've got a good roster. Or as Adam says, the blue blood teams are always there and thereabouts. And we talked about that in the season. Why were Notre Dame just immune to being dropped out of the top 25, and they started terribly, and they kind of hung around because they're Notre Dame, and they eventually did come right and whatever else. But it was like, why are they still there? And the same, why was Texas put up there? Why Clemson? Why all the old school kind of things? They go, well, these are the top 20. These are usually the top 25. We'll whack them all in here in some sort of order. I think that's the way. But yeah, I suppose from my point of view, the preseason boom / bust, I suppose the biggest one, the fall off, is probably Penn State, because everyone had Penn State running it back. Everyone did. I mean, you can say, I think, Sam, even you said you'd think you hope Texas would get there, but you thought that Penn State were probably running it back as well. Everyone had them almost nailed on to walk it, and they just didn't. It just didn't happen. Clemson in the ACC was such a disappointment as well.
And I think this. I want to tie this in, by the way, too. Those two teams in particular, I want to tie them into Cade Klubnik and Drew Allar, who were supposed to be the number 1 pick this year. I don't know how both of them were going to do it, but they were supposed to be the number 1 pick, and obviously then probably subsequently number 2 pick in the draft. They were slightly behind Arch Manning as the 2 other Heisman favorites. Those 2 were supposed to be the 2 quarterbacks. Now, I knew Fernando Mendoza's name last year. We all knew Fernando Mendoza's name because he was just at Cal. But not one single person thought Fernando Mendoza would be in that conversation, let alone the players you could have probably considered who would have been there at the end. You knew that there'd be a lot of media attention on Diego Pavia no matter what. That obviously blew up a bit more than I reckon most people thought it would do. But then you've also got Jeremiah Love, who seemed like the only person preseason who you thought, yeah, he if he has a season similar to this, he's got to be in that conversation. Jeremiah Smith was in, I think, top 10 of voting at least.
And
the other one,
Caleb Downs as well. Everyone
Caleb
expected Caleb Downs to be up there.
Both of them finished in top 10 of Heisman voting, just unfortunately not top 4. And I think the other one was Julian Saying. And look, take all rivalries aside, which is really, really difficult, but I don't think anyone else would have thought Julian Saying would not have been in the Heisman contention. So deserved, by the way. I'm not saying it wasn't deserved. No one thought that 3 out of those 4 players would be in Heisman contention. Everyone who was in that conversation was nowhere to be seen. Barely lucky to play in a bowl game if he did.
I wonder if it highlights the importance not only of the coaching but of scheme and everything around an offense or a defense, because obviously Fernando Mendoza has proven himself to be a supercomputer. That's clear, but how much of his talent is amplified because of how good that offense is?
He's not. What you're saying there, Adam, already is that he's a system QB. Just are you already setting the scenes that he's a system QB?
I think he's
wherever he
more
goes.
than that. But the two things put together created 16-0, and I just wonder how much where the split is. How much is him, and how much is those other elements put together.
Went into the right place.
Well,
I mean, Carson Beck's probably a good example as well, right?
Yeah,
of a scheme and a fit and a place where his skill set, although as found out previously, maybe may have a limitation to it, but in the right location and in the right scheme and the right coaching, can be utilized to the fore and prove to be more than adequate, if you like. But it depends on where they are. Whereas some of the other names, Nussmeier, I mean, where,
that was a
who,
yeah.
what, where's he gone? What happened? Were they that bad that his name? He was just in a bad team, in a bad situation, in a bad location. He may
With a
still
bad head
have,
coach.
yeah, and he may, and as you said, coaching is all important. He may still have the skills, and he may still have the raw talent, but it's just been dulled, lost, whatever you want to say. So he may still get drafted this year, but it's not going to be in
Yeah.
any other sort of higher rounds. It's going to be one of those 6th or 7th round flyer picks just to fill the practice squad type of thing.
I think it just
He'll go to the Browns and have the QB room of 28 different QBs.
I think it highlights the in a lot of cases the lack of emphasis that needs to be placed on their high school star recruitment. Like the amount of I'm pretty sure Mendoza coming out of college was maybe a
Even a
3-star at max, 2-star recruit,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be the number one recruit. Well, he's gonna be the number one draft pick. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many though. I think obviously you even look at the quarterbacks in the NFL today that are the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, Josh Allen was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. He had to beg to get into a college program. So, I think that all this focus on, and obviously we're going to do it when we do it inevitably when we do a portal and committal podcast later in the future, that will look at all of these stats and obviously look at the different players. But it just shows you that actually just because you're seen as a 5-star recruit out of high school doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be automatically a number one pick. Like it's so much can change during your 4 years
at college. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years at college.
If you're Pavy, you're probably 10 if he could get away with it.
15 if he can. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just shows you the difference in all these predictions that we try and do and how it actually turns out. So
yeah, it does make a mockery of the analysis and the predictions and the experts and stuff like that. But again, it probably happens every year. We'll just roll around and do it all again because what's what we do and it's fun. And we never claim to know know all the ins and outs and whatever else. Nobody can do. But yeah, this year I think has just been a bit more unusual for the teams that rose to the top. You would have still expected 4 or 5 of the bigger names to have stuck around, even if they were having an off year. Usually their off years aren't so detrimental that other teams are still bad enough. As you say, the leveling of the playing field, the skills being more spread out, the skilled players being more spread out in more teams meant that if you have, the bigger teams now can't have off years, can't have rebuild years, can't have whatever you want to call them, because one of these other teams are being coached and have enough talent now to take that spot and snatch it away, which is why we ended up who we did.
I think obviously you've mentioned some of the recruiting, and you bring up Fernando Mendoza was a 2-star recruit, rejected a walk-on at Miami, by the way, and all that sort of stuff. If you watch the national championship, how much they drilled that point all night that he was rejected a walk-on at Miami and now he's playing them in the national championship at Miami. I get it. It's a storyline. ESPN, these media platforms, they love him. It's what for me has been highlighted this season. And I think, I like the way these episodes kind of go. We get one topic and then all of a sudden we just go on a little bit.
We're off.
But as we kind of start looking into the regular season as well, though, one thing that it's kind of points out to me this season has been just how important the transfer portal is. And obviously you look at Indiana and say, that's where the transfer portal works. And that's why the transfer portal is important, because the vast majority of that roster is built via the portal. It's built via those players who were kind of already built and experienced elsewhere. This is not taking away anything Signetti's done. You've still got to put them all together. You've still got to make them play. You've still got to get your scheme right and all that sort of stuff. It's nothing, taking nothing away from Signetti. But that was built through that. The main chunk of that roster was built through the portal and how important that is. And it's not. One thing I will say as well is the NIL is important and it is so important, but it's not just the NIL. It's not about spending big, it's about spending smart as far as NIL goes. And this season for me is because Indiana built, like I said, you build that roster through the portal, but you don't spend the most because you're going and getting those blue
Did Signetti
chip.
bring them from? I think a lot of them came from.
A lot came from JMU.
Not from JMU, yeah.
A lot came from JMU. And obviously, like I say, we mentioned Fernando Mendoza from Carl, and there's a couple of us from elsewhere. But it's
I
built
think it's
via. Sorry, Sam. I'm just gonna to wrap this up 1 second. Is just it's built through the portal and how important the portal is, but how important having an NIL fund, but the people spending the money smartly and knowing what they're doing and who they're bringing in is just as important. Sorry, Sam. Go on.
I was gonna say it's because it's been built on a scheme, isn't it? Like the head coach has come in and said he wants to play this exact way, and he's got players that suit that system. And I think one of the things that we tend to probably things that maybe get lost in college football is, like I say, focusing so much on, you've got to bring in X number of 5-star recruits, X number of 4-star recruits. You've got to bring in X, Y, Z from the transfer portal, and it's like sometimes the reason why it doesn't work is because the players don't suit the scheme.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot, maybe a few situations where this has happened this year. I think probably Texas is one of them. I think that they got in quite a few 5-star recruits and quite a few different players and such. And
Square pegs and round holes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't quite work. The team wasn't sort of pulling all in the right direction. And I think we sort of saw that with a few teams, whereas we saw maybe a couple of the teams that weren't necessarily seen as being, somewhere like in Indiana, they were built on a system that worked and built and brought in players that weren't necessarily these flashy 5-star recruiters. A lot of them were 3, some 4-star recruiters. But it was, we talked about it a few weeks ago where we were saying these are boys versus men a lot of the time with Indiana, because they were all, I think a good chunk of them were all seniors, were just built different.
They're just bigger and faster and been around long enough.
And I think that it just shows
interesting
the importance of the portal.
It's the portal there, but there's a money ball aspect, isn't there, to look at it from that point of view of, hey, we need a player that's going to do this. Doesn't have to be a 4-star recruit. Doesn't have to be a 5-star recruit. Doesn't have to be a 2-star recruit. As long as this player can run 40 yards in 4.8 seconds and weighs 380 pounds as long as it matches all ticks these boxes, get him. It doesn't matter if his name is Nussmeier or if his name is Mendoza or whatever. If it's what this scheme needs, go and get me 3 of them. Find 2 of these guys. Find 1 of these. It's a money ball aspect of that, but it works because the coach knows the system and he's happy with it. He wants players who play in the system, and you get a team of 95 people all pulling in the same direction, playing the scheme, understanding it. You get results.
It just shows with the way that
scheme and culture. I think Indiana were, I'm trying to look this up, second in terms of yards per games given away in terms of penalties last year, only second to Army. I think it was 27.6. So that's cultural. That's the culture. There's certain things you do and you don't do on my team, and that's drilled.
Do not give away.
And I think that does go into your point, Gary, about the seniority. That was a team with a lot of experience that had been around college football.
I'm claiming it, Sam, even though you said
it, or one of you. And even look at the name. Miami is a reasonably old team in that respect as well. The 2 teams that ended up there had a lot of experience, and I think there's something in that.
You also got the fact that, like, the way that teams are blowing things up in this portal. Like, obviously, we'll come on to that again later. But like even the likes of, I mean, Texas Tech have pretty much blown up their whole team and brought in so many transfers. Texas, we've done it. There's so many teams that have basically just looked at their I suppose their program and have just gone, nah, we're going to rejig this completely, and it just shows that in a way, it's part of me doesn't really like the fact that they does it, because there's so many, like, I think probably because it just, to me, it just doesn't make sense that, it's a different world over in America and college and all of that. But over here, you go to a university, you agree to go, and you're there for 3 years. You don't get the choice and the ability to be able to sort of swap
around
left, right,
everywhere.
and centre.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm not being funny, but for 99.8% of students in that university, that life is the same for them. If you're studying a law degree at the University of Texas, you can spend 6 months there and go, I might just go do law at Oregon for a year, and then I'll go to FSU, and then I'll go to Michigan and work your way up. You can't do that. The kid doing criminology can't do it. The kid doing doing science can't. They can't. It's just these athletes that can, and the emphasis is on football. This happens in basketball a lot as well. Not so much in some of the more Olympic level sports, but I think that's just with funding and the way NIL goes. But
yeah,
it does happen there as well, because certain schools do put a lot into NIL in those departments. It's just not as common. So, and I think I want to go back to the point of, like, as we're talking about how you're building rosters, we're talking about teams blowing them up. I don't even necessarily think it's teams blowing themselves up. It's the state of college football at this moment in time. Teams finish a season and then go, I can go get more NIL over there. I can go get more of this over there. I can get that over there. I just want to go try fancy somewhere new. I'll go live somewhere nice and different for a year. It's the reality of college football. So I think you get some of these bigger and better teams, and the season ends and 25 players have just hit the portal because they've just hit the portal, and that's what you've now got to go into the portal, go find all these other teams, and you've got the guys who've adapted to it extremely well. Kurt Signetti. Okay, then we'll build our roster through all these people who want new homes and they're of a certain age and all that. There are teams that are struggling with that, and you look at Clemson and how why is his name left my head? I just had it.
love Nick.
No, the head coach.
Every Sweeney.
Dave Sweeney. Yeah, that's the one. I don't know why his name left. It's happened like
Was it
3 times
Dabo?
this year.
Dabo?
Either way,
Dabo.
Sweeney. His comments about never using the ball, not using the portal, and not wanting to, look where that got Clemson this year. They fell behind because they weren't using the portal the way other teams were. These are the things that happen when, at the end of the day, this is where college football is at right now. I think it's just the state of it.
Yeah,
And
it's the new normal, certainly.
so I don't think this is it's getting worse. I don't think it's going to get better for a while until, which is again a conversation for
Is it
another
worse?
day.
Is it getting worse? Is that the right terminology, or is that, as Adam says, it's just the new norm now?
I think it's just getting more. I think it's getting more volatile is probably the best word. That I just think with how unregulated nil is, that's the bit that's the problem, is the fact that it's so unregulated. It's not even a case of that, you're managing, it wouldn't honestly surprise me if at some point in the future they put a cap on it because they have no other choice.
You have to.
Have to. There's going to be a point, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to end up in that sort of period of, you've got the biggest NIL, therefore you get all the 5-star recruits or whatever else, and it becomes,
I think
that's.
There's two ways that this can go, I think. And again, these are conversations for another day. We can reinvent college football again if you want in the off season. We can do that. You're gonna go one of two ways, right? You can either go in the semi-professional-ishy kind of way that it seems to be going that way, or you can reel it back in and say, at the end of the day, these are student athletes, and you cannot forget the student part of those student athletes. we've already spoke about the potential for colleges to say, do you know what, we're going to mark you a certain way, so you can't just go up and uproot to another college because you won't have the GPA, right? You won't be able to go to a school that's got a 3.7 GPA, which is a better school for all this and all that, and your football because you've only got a 3.5, and we're not going to let. I can't remember how GPAs work. I barely scraped by my own uni over here, and we did percentages. So it's going to be, and I will say worse. I will say worse because it creates so much volatility. It sends the sport so much one way, and there's the overcorrection where we've gone so player powered in college football. But also, I do worry for some of these kids, and it's a thing that keeps getting brought up. Where are they going to be in 4 years without a proper degree?
Mm.
Because they've got a ton of money out of nowhere that is finite, right? It's 3-4 years worth of this, anywhere between £1 to 10 mil, whatever it's going to be. It's a finite amount of money that you are going to, if you don't go to the NFL, you've got from the age of 21 to not blow that,
Yeah.
which is different from having an NFL career where you can do certain things and then you've got through the age of 35 when that's built up. But it's a whole, like I say, it's a whole case of like these kids are going to go from college to college to college. They're not going to walk away with a proper degree. They're not going to walk away with certain skills, the skills of sticking by something and keeping going through it and sticking by the degree. Some will be fine, some will not.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, I think the way the system is at the moment is setting these kids up to fail further down the line.
It's
And
it's
that's not what you want.
it creates a situation where it's NFL or broke.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to end up
NFL
going.
NFL broke car salesman.
Yeah, and then what you'll end up having is the NFL, the NFL or the NCAA, the NCAF or whoever, have to then put in some form of like
Benevolent
support
fund
system
support. Mm.
to kind of support all of these kids that have basically just kind of, I don't want to say screw their life up, but have kind of got themselves into a position where they've been, easily making anywhere from between 10,000 to 1 million a year to then
Nothing.
basically having to have nothing and nothing else to fall onto. And I think that's the worrying part, is that they're not being given the support system isn't there, and all it'll take is for one or two kids to fall through the cracks, to end up, something silly happening, and then them having to do something retrospectively. And that's the problem, is that there's no forward thinking with anything. It's all reactionary, and that's where I think that the problems will come. But in terms of sort of, I think we've kind of gone a bit off track.
Yeah, a little bit. I'll say just to finish up the point, I was like, I'll say this, and the way that it is at the moment, there is too much scope for these kids to be taken advantage of by nefarious people. With the NFL, 90% out of the thousands of players, the very, very vast majority are represented by NFLPA agents, by NFL accredited agents. You have to be represented by an NFL accredited agent. I'm not exactly sure how it works in college, and you have to get some sort of accreditation to be an agent. But how many of these kids are being represented by family? Who, with all respect to that, I don't mean to play, the family don't know the next thing about being an agent and supporting and going through these and getting these deals and sorting these things out, and get how many of these agents then can come into this 17-year-old's life as they're getting ready to go to university and help them set up an NIL deal. 17-year-old kid's life, right? Where I come from in Manchester is, for anyone listening to in America, it's like I come from a very, very rough council estate. Good as, like, the best equation I can give is the projects in the States, right? You come from areas like this, which is, so everyone I grew up with wanted to be a footballer, and that was their thing. If you were good at football, that's how you were going to take care of your family. And we've seen this for years. Like this isn't new with college football now, but when these kids are desperate and they really want to make something of themselves, and they do want to go and make these things happen, it opens the door for nefarious people to come in and mess around with their futures and their lives, and it is dangerous. And this is why, when I say it gets worse, there are ways in which, great, some of these kids can make some money, but you are messing up a lot of these kids going up forward in the future. And as horrible as it is to say, by the way, have you ever had a Wagyu burger? like a really nice proper Wagyu burger.
Oh yeah.
How shit does a Big Mac taste the next day? Right? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean it.
it's
Right?
not advisable to go from one to the other. Absolutely not. But yeah, your analogy stands. Absolutely. That
They were just like,
you go from
yeah.
the best of the best and having the ultimate thing, and then suddenly turn around the next week. It's like, oh,
I mean,
it's gone.
the agency thing we've seen with who was the kid that wanted to go to Ohio and was forced to go to Miami or whatever it was.
No,
Um,
Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee. You went to go
Tennessee
to
was
Ohio State
forced
and
to,
you wanted to
Malavia.
go to Tennessee.
yeah, and he was forced to go there by his mum, and it's like because his mum's his representative, and it's like
Mhm.
you're not look. Then the thing is that in a lot of these cases, and again, I don't want to generalize but there are a significant number of these cases where a lot of these kids, we hear it pretty much every time when we're talking, like you hear it from the NFL. A lot of them come from poor backgrounds or struggling backgrounds, and when someone's offering your child $1 million,
Yeah.
it changes your perspective on
Yeah.
everything because it's not like say somewhere like Ole Miss where you tend to have a lot of people who are well known within the area will go to Ole Miss and they have those connections in that way. So obviously it's a lot more different, although they do have some that don't. But it's a lot more. You come from a wealthy family around the place, you're gonna probably end up going there because of who you are and all of that. And there isn't that for some of these kids. So to go from nothing to potentially having everything is a lot harder to manage. And I
Mario
think that's where
Balotelli.
a lot of these, yeah, and I think a lot of these families think, see dollar signs and are drawn to it, and then
Yeah.
forget everything about their kids, what's best for their child, or
Yeah.
what does their child want. And I think that's where, you know, as they say,
I'm
money's
sorry.
the root of all evil. But it's that sense of that it's just not.
I will.
Without a regulatory system in place, we'll start to see more and more cases that are just going to.
More and more uncles taking over, more and more
Yeah.
people,
Mm.
said,
Well,
I'll help you.
so
I've done this.
More people in school in court with their school, which we don't want to
Yeah.
see.
yes. And to rein us back in a little bit, we'll wrap it up. Sam, you're absolutely right. We're not generalizing here, but these are real cases of things that do happen on multiple occasions every year. And we are seeing a trend in these things picking up as NIL and the way things are going, the way they do. We're not generalizing. This isn't every case. This isn't every child from a certain background. This isn't every. A lot of these things are absolutely fine. Just there are these cases happening, and they are getting worse. So, to bring us back though, I want to talk about the regular season. We'll look a bit more into the actual regular season. Of, no, do you know what? I'm gonna do it. Right, I'm just gonna say it. Who saw Kennesaw State going and winning the Conference USA? Nobody.
No, no.
Nobody. Do I feel like a fool for not voting for Kennesaw State to win Conference USA at the start of the season and just backing my boys? Yes, I do. Um,
Are they going to run it back?
yes, they are. Yes, they are. They will be in the SEC in the next 3 years
All right.
and winning it. Biggest team in I'm
What have you been?
joking.
What's been in that glass you've been having?
I've spiked me iced coffee.
Yeah, yeah. There were some big surprises. I should say that was a big, turnaround, worst to first type turnaround for Kennesaw State. But not, I suppose, not massively a surprise considering they had the experience. Last year, not this season, but the season before was their first season in the Big Boys League. Eye-opening. Oh my God, this is what it's all about type thing. So they learned a lot from that first season. I did seeing them go and win it. Just amazing. Did not see. Nobody saw that. I can't imagine anybody saw that coming at all.
I mean,
Not even at Kennesaw State, if they're really honest.
no. I mean, if we're totally honest on things like that, it does go back to the last conversation we just had to an extent of a lot of them. There's a brand new head coach,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the kids involved in that were transfer portal kids. Amari Oldham came through in the portal. Ben Yard had been there the whole time. He'd been there for 4 years. He'd been there in the FCS with them and all that sort of stuff. But good chunk of that roster were transfer portal kids, and some of them have gone back out again. Some of them Um, some of them are coming back, but it's another example of most of them hadn't actually fully experienced last year.
Mm.
Good chunk of them hadn't experienced the FCS. They turned up and they did a job, and it was again well put together roster via the transfer portal by Jerry Mack.
Well earned. Did he get, what did he get? CUSA Coach of the Year, or did he get,
Yes, he
what
did.
did he? Yeah, he did. As he should have done, really. Yeah. But yeah,
A minimum.
at least. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think Coach of the Year went to someone else. But
Yeah, wonder who got that. I think if you Google him, you'll know who got it.
Might find it.
I think one team that really surprised me this year in the regular season was North Texas, and not just because of the fact that North Texas have been good in the past. I think in the last 2 seasons they were 5-7 and 6-7, and I think the season before that they were 7-7 in terms of overall record. But I think it wasn't just necessarily the fact that they were on a winning record. It was how they were winning games and how entertaining they were across those games. I mean, there was it was North Texas involved in that game. It was like 54-43 or something ridiculous, wasn't it? And it's there's been a few of those sort of group of 5 teams, so to speak, that have been really entertaining to watch, and I think it's kind of shined a light on the group of 5 in terms of that this isn't just about the big 4. There's 9 divisions here that are or 9 conferences, and there are some really good teams in all of those conferences, and it's been nice to sort of see those what we class smaller programs be put
getting
on
a bit of the limelight. Getting it. I mean, USF, I suppose, was the one that also springs to mind, who kind of made a big splash early on, beat a couple of ranked teams, made the headlines. Yes, there was the whole hoo-ha around the AP poll and whatever else, and that was also fun and games. But yeah, as you say, smaller G5 teams punching above their weight. Or going back to what we've just been saying, Adam, is it punching above their weight, or is it the spread? And they've got a bit of money to throw around. They can get some better talent in. The talent pool is more spread, therefore you're going to get more surprising results over time. Whereas, there's still shocks now, there's still surprises now, but going forward, they may not end up, you won't be so shocked that USF beat Miami or USF beat Florida. These things aren't going to be that much of a surprise in a few years' time. It becomes the norm that the smaller teams, as we call them now, are in there.
Yeah, I mean, North Texas scored 631 points off of 14 games, so 45 points per game.
Just pure entertainment.
Just pure going for it, yeah. Just
pure box office.
It was Mestermaker was the passing yards leader in the season, wasn't it? It was it was pure offense. Pure offense.
It was pure Kevin Keegan.
Yeah, Mestermaker, wasn't it? 312 yards a game, 34 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
I mean, that's a good 34-9, though. That's not like
68% completion as well.
I mean, it's not just wildly slinging it. It's obviously, an air raid-esque sort of approach to it. So, I mean, it worked for them, as you say. It's definitely a way that they've made their mark. Maybe they, it's, as I've just highlighted or jokingly said, it's a bit of a Kevin Keegan approach of we'll score more than you because our defense isn't great. Therefore, we'll have to just go on offense and go all guns blazing because we know we can't stop you.
Yeah,
Detroit Lions the last 2 years, and now they got to the playoffs in the NFL. It was literally that. Our defense was not great and banged
not
up.
Great.
So
we'll bite. All right, Karen. We'll bite your ankles. We'll bite your knees. We'll bite you all the way up.
Liverpool under the first couple of years of Klopp were very similar, weren't they? We're going to score more goals.
We're just going to have to go heavy metal and score more because we're not entirely sure what's going on back there.
Yeah. I mean,
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see, because there's all these different ways of doing it. There's the North Texas way. Perhaps Indiana was a bit more considered in how they did it. There might be another way of doing it. So is Indiana the unicorn? Everything they pulled together just happened to work? Or will they replicate it and create a few years of dominance? Or is there the next team to come up and do something completely different with these new tools of the
Yeah, I
portal.
suppose that's interesting, is it? Will there be a dominant team dynasty sort of ability with this new sort of players in and out transfer portal? It's probably you're not going to get a year where you go 10 years of Ohio State, 10 years of Michigan, 10 years of X team being at the top.
Yeah.
Because players will just move to, they won't recruit the strength because the players who want to play will go somewhere who will go, come play for us, you'll be a starter, we'll give you 2 million, or you
Yeah.
can go sit on the bench and fight for a spot that you might get over there and you won't get paid. I'm like, all right, I'll take the 2 million, thank you very much, and playing time. So
Yeah.
I think the dynasty era in college football is probably now over. But will
Yeah.
you get teams that can stay at the top for 2 or 3 years and then have to go, right, we can't spend for the next 3 years. We've blown our NIL budget. We have to go down the recruitment route. So it's going to be 4 or 5 years before we're back where we are because we need to go save money, go back the old fashioned way. Or is there going to be some blended approach, I think, where you're heading there, Adam, of still recruiting well enough and then topping it up with the cream of whoever's in the portal? Because by the sound of it, there's always going to be players in the portal going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what Oregon have been doing for a couple of years now, where they blended this recruitment in year after year, and you almost invest in some high school players this year, but they're not going to play for a couple of years. We brought Dante Moore in last year, 2 years ago to sit.
Yeah.
Then he got his season this year, but actually we weren't really even talking about this season. We were talking about next season being the year when it all
A
comes
year for
together.
him, yeah.
And schools will have to just take that multi-year approach and view things in three, like you say, 3 5-year cycles as opposed to a 1 year or a shorter period.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get a truly dominant team. I think you might get a dominant conference, and like that will be the Big Ten if that's going to be the case. I enjoy, and I'm going to sit here with my popcorn out, and I hope, Adam, you will join me, and maybe a little bit Gary as well, in watching the SEC fall to irrelevance over the next few years.
Nobody wants to see that.
But
we all
I know
know it. We all know it won't happen as well. That's the thing.
No, that's the thing.
It's already happening, my friend. It is already happening.
There's no irrelevance to it. It's just the teams are just not doing that well in the playoffs. They're still all in the playoffs though. That's all that matters.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
Let's
not talk about things getting agreed upon on committee, shall we? Not today, not after yesterday's
always
news.
be up near the top at the end of the day because they always are. So if you're talking about a team that's always going to be in and around that, Ohio State are going to be up there because they know how to recruit talent and they know how to bring in talent. They may not necessarily win it every single year, but they'll be there and thereabouts most years. So if we're talking about, a system, Ohio are more likely to be there than Michigan.
Yes.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Doesn't change the fact that the SEC are going to be irrelevant by 2030.
It's never going to be irrelevant. There's too much money involved with it to not for it.
SEC will never be irrelevant. However, they might not be
wish
the
as much as you want, Fletch,
powerhouse
about it
as
being
much.
irrelevant, but it'll never happen. It's like wishing Man City are never gonna win another title. It just isn't gonna happen.
Do you know what?
It's like wishing EFA would actually slap them with one of those 160, 21, 178 different charges that they're still not doing anything about.
Really quick, 2 things. One, after the arguments I've had with some people this last week, I'd love for us to be irrelevant again. I want these weirdos who say Pep out gone, right? Also, it's nothing to do with the FA, it's the Premier League. So, running back I want to go back to some of these G5 teams that have had good runs, right? And how we look at potentially that going on a bit more. I think with the introduction of the way the playoffs work, some of these G5 teams and these G5 conferences getting cash injections from the playoffs. I mean, that's the American Conference and the Sun Belt this year. We're going to get at least first round money being pumped into their conferences on the basis of James Madison and
Today. No, not today. It's today.
Yeah, on basis of both of them getting into the playoffs. seeing that kind of injection into the G5 conferences at least will hopefully start to build the G5 conferences. I think the resurgence of the Pac-12 is going to really, 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 really help that, because it creates a lot more of that. We have some better individual conferences rather than a couple of stacked. The Mountain West, instead of having a Mountain West which is like the top two teams and then the rest are irrelevant, you've got a good Pac-12, you've got a good Conference USA, you've got I do think the resurgence of the Pac-12 is going to help that as well. But with these investments going into the G5, hopefully that does see some of these G5 teams see continued investment and support and get and allow them to elevate the programs a little bit better. Whether that translates into what happened this year and last year a little bit to the G5 in the playoffs is yet to be seen. But same thing also happened to Alabama, and apparently that's not happening anyway. So Tulane's run though was great, and I want to mention Tulane's run. Start off by beating a Big Ten team, Northwestern, and John Sumrall with the great quote of, because that was the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. They wanted to wear white jerseys because that's what they do every year to commemorate Hurricane Katrina. Northwestern said no.
Nope.
And then John Sumrall comes out at the end of it and says, "Don't you dare disrespect the city of New Orleans." Just class. And they go on to have a great season. And I think that the number one story coming out of it, though, has to be Jake Retzlaff, who in July was leaving BYU with special circumstances because of the situation that went on in BYU. Found a home, and no one knew, because he knew he had talent, but didn't know what was going to come of it. And he had a great season and took Tulane to the playoffs. And runs like that are great. And you see why John Sumrall got a job at Florida.
Mm-hmm. Anyone pick that up? Someone pick that up and run with that.
No one got anything else to go off on that one. Okay, that's fine. Who else? I mean, there's a couple of players I want to go through. I mean, like we could talk about things like how CFBUKView went on and put himself into the Heisman contention, and at the same time as that went on, then simultaneously talked himself out of being a top quarterback in the draft with his antics straight after.
Yeah, he's an ass anyway. He's just going to be a problem, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or how he pimped his mum out on.
I mean, it was a great story, and I'm sure that the networks, everybody loved it and whatever else. But crass springs to mind, and it's not. It's almost, and we don't get them over here, so it's kind of hard to say. But it's almost like that sorority jock mentality that you see and is archetypal of stereotype of college date, kids at college doing pranks. Oh yeah, you can date my mom if I win, haha. And it's like, it's a bit, it wasn't a little bit distasteful, I suppose. Not really what you want, as you say, from your quarterback, the leader of your team, is out there still pranking around like a goofball type thing. It's not really. It was already indicative of the kind of person he was going to be, and then obviously the "who cares about the votes" comment. It was just another, I wouldn't say nail in his coffin. Doesn't help that his coffin is now shorter.
He's also come out and said that he's going to show the NFL what he's got in the Senior Bowl. So be interested to see how that plays out.
Especially if they put 6'4" offensive linemen against him, he's going to have no chance, is he?
I think I was going to say someone I was really, really impressed with last year in his freshman year was Micah Elijah. I can't remember how it is. Aliado, I think it is. The quarterback at Hawaii, who obviously is, I've decided that this should be Fletcher's daughter's team in the Rainbow Warriors, because I think it's a great game.
Too.
I think we need to press that.
I love it from a naming perspective, and it being, and I also love it for the fact it means Fletch has to stay awake to watch Hawaii, usually kicking off at 5 a.m. or whatever it is. So yes, Fletcher's pulling 24-hour shifts.
But
Listen,
in
I mean,
terms of
come on,
in
I'm
terms
doing
of
that
sort
anyway.
of,
And Coach Jeff.
Nope.
I just think
Oh,
that, you know,
Nope.
Aliardo, I just thought he's had a brilliant season for his freshman year. I mean, he was 66.3% completion, 3,106 yards, and 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. You know, for a freshman year, I just think that is a really
Yeah.
good like set of stats for someone who's just come into the college scene. And I think, you know, you look at the rest of the team, there wasn't anyone who sort of put up crazy yards, you know, in terms of helping with the rushing. I think the most rushes they had was 559 yards. So not, you know, not crazy numbers. And overall, they just, as a team, Hawaii obviously performed really well. They finished 9-4 on the season, and he was instrumental to that. And I think, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the bigger teams looked at him to potentially guide him towards them. You know, I think maybe another season at Hawaii is probably going to suit him, but I think if he produces another season like that, it wouldn't shock me if someone from the SEC or someone from the Big Ten look his way and try and tempt him with a fairly sizable nil deal. Because I watched him a couple of times in highlights and that, and he looks really good, and he looks like quite an underrated, underappreciated quarterback that could do potentially go into the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if the newly formed, reformed, whatever it is, you know, all-state Pac-12 actually takes off and gets a couple of big teams in it, and it becomes a decent enough sort of conference where it's pushing the. Is that a step where, you know, because Hawaii then to Pac-12 isn't like he's having to come all the way across America or whatever else. It's not, you know, a massive culture of shock for whatever else. He goes and plays on the, you know, goes out and plays on the West Coast. Still not, yeah, granted it's not Hawaii, but it's not beyond the realms. It's not like he's then flying to Michigan and playing in the snow, for example. It's keeping within a sort of a level of a comfort type thing.
Yeah. For players like that, you've got the choice, haven't you? Do you stay and play, or do you go somewhere and try and develop and learn and sit and develop your skills?
Yeah.
Or, you know, can you find the perfect bridge where you're doing a bit of both somewhere?
Yeah.
I mean, you look, well, some of the players who figured that out just this year. I mean, look at Dylan Raiola going to Oregon, doing what Dante Moore did. You go somewhere, you know that next year you will start because Dante Moore's got 1 year left.
Yeah.
You go, develop, learn, and then take over that role. And it is an interesting kind of debate that you've got to have as a college player. But you see, you watch. There are some you can see who's had to make that decision and what decision they've made. And as I say, Dylan Raiola's a perfect example of someone who took that option to go somewhere you know you will play at some point, but you still get the opportunity to sit back.
I think the benefit of Dylan Raiola is the fact that he came out of high school as the number one recruit, and that's still going to be on the people's minds when he does go into the declare for the NFL. I think that he is not in a position where I think he has to worry too much unless he has a god awful season at Oregon when he does get to start. I don't think he's going to have the issue of worrying about potentially not being at least in the top four draft sort of picks. So I think he's
and I
in a
suppose
unique situation.
he's not also going to be subject, if you like, to the whims of one flash season, one big, you know, one great season, and that's it. You know, if you look at Mendoza, he's not been setting the world alight. He's been steady and whatever else. This year was, you know, as you say, found the right spot and whatever else. But yeah, with Raiola, I think he's got that number one high school recruit coming with him. He comes with all of that as well. So it won't be, if he does blow up next year, and hopefully he does for Oregon, you know, and suddenly shows out, great. Nobody would be that surprised. But also, as you say, if he has a middling of the road and just, you know, doesn't quite work out for whatever reason, maybe the system, he's got enough brownie points stocked that he won't take, as you say, Sam, he won't take that much of a draft hit if Oregon just go out in the first round of the playoffs or whatever.
I also think it'll be a case of less pressure with the fact that he's sitting, because he's had 2 relatively okay years at Nebraska. He's then going to sit for a year, in a year where you're probably going to see the likes of, Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Julian Sayin are all going to be in the Heisman conversations to start with. They're going to be the ones. Bryce Underwood will be up there. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about him. But you've got all of these names which are going to be playing regularly, who are going to be in the conversations of who's the best quarterback, that he's able to kind of separate himself from that situation a bit and almost kind of give himself the opportunity to be able to say, okay, 2027 is my year. I'm the guy. I'm the one that's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And that it gives him that opportunity, like I say, to learn, to be in that environment, which, I'm not, no shade towards Nebraska, but Oregon is a completely different kettle of fish than Nebraska. It's a much bigger organization, and
a lot more eyes on it, a lot more expectation.
And I think that it'll allow him to ease himself into a situation like that, and almost, in a way, get himself NFL ready to be potentially in the eyes when we think in 2027, or I suppose technically would be the 2028 draft.
28 draft, isn't it? Yeah.
You're probably looking at a team that's, obviously we can't talk about 3 years in the future, but we're probably looking at
Jets,
a team that's
Browns.
Well, yeah, probably still one of them, or we could be looking at, potentially like a Buffalo Bills, or or even somewhere like
Miami.
a Lions. These teams are potentially going to. We don't know what's going to happen in 3 years. These teams could be looking for a quarterback. So it's to get yourself acclimatized to a much different situation, and I think it's going to. For me, it's only going to benefit him.
Yeah, and it's that you can watch and learn from watching what happens to Dante Moore this year, because that's what he's going to have to endure, go through, and whatever else, that pressure, expectation, prep for the draft, what comes with that. Because I'm sure, from the outside, I'm sure there is a lot of meetings, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that go on in your senior year, or the year that you're going, your last year of eligibility, when you're going to the draft, that athletes have to go through in terms of testing and interviews and all sorts of bits and pieces. And he can watch from the sidelines and shadow and whatever else and ask the questions so that he is better prepared for it. So yeah, I think it's a nice indication, and probably is going to be perfect for him. Will it be the norm? Probably not, because we just talked about the previous sort of discussion. Someone's going to come along to a kid and go, here's $4 million. Come and be our starting QB from year one, from day one, straight out of high school. We're going to put you in. You're the one. You're our guy. And they're going to take that because the dollar signs are right there in their agent / auntie / uncle / cousin who wants a cut, pushes them in that direction, and that's where they end up. So it'll be interesting.
It'll also fall nicely for him, because obviously you'll have Decorian Moore will be in his 3rd year if he's still around. Obviously, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's going to be, he's going to be going into his 3rd year. He could potentially be looking at wanting to go into the NFL if
he's going to want a big year with
if
QB.
Raiola and Moore can form a great partnership like we saw with Burrow and Chase. We could be seeing the next Burrow and Chase sort of similar situation of, these are 2 excellent players who have played really well at Oregon, potentially gone on and won a natty, could potentially happen. And then that again just adds to the fuel to the fire in terms of those 2 players.
I mean, we're also not quite mentioning that. Oh, but we have mentioned in a roundabout way, you're going and learning under Dan Lanning as well, who seems to be a bit of a quarterback whisperer to an extent. I mean, look, you've gone from, and the embarrassment of riches that you're going through, Adam, is at quarterback, at least at college level, is really, really, really nice for you. Because you go from Bo Nix for 2 years, who goes and ends up being a top 12 pick, just got his team to the AFC Championship. Probably, I'm not getting into that argument.
I could see them of getting to Super Bowl if he'd have been there.
Yeah. But anyway, potentially being in a Super Bowl if he doesn't get injured. Then you go to Dylan Gabriel, who was fantastic in college. It's not his fault he went to the Browns. We're not going to blame him for that one. And then you go to Dante Moore, who has a season where he could have been the second quarterback off the board
We
if he
saw that it was
chose
the
to
Jets.
go.
Saw that it was the
So,
Jets.
so
And
yeah.
Towards the
thought,
Jets.
nah, I'm all right with that.
And then you get him for another year and potentially then go and get a 5-star recruit. You go and get in the door a former 5-star #1 recruit in the country to go and lead your team. The embarrassment of riches here, Adam.
Just need to push it over the line, though. It's
Yeah.
find a way to
But
put it all together.
But just to mention it for Raiola, though, it's just such a great place to be in because look at currently Dan Lanning's track record of quarterbacks in the NFL, just as a
Yeah.
head coach. It is really, really, really good. I know we're doing a lot of talk about Dylan Raiola for the next 2 years. Not a lot of what's gone on in the 2025 season. Is there anything else from the regular season in particular that has stood out to you? There's a couple of names I want to mention, but I might mention them when they go into the post-season as well.
Yeah. I think we mentioned North Texas, but Texas Tech putting it together, obviously they spent big, but that doesn't guarantee you're actually going to deliver. And so, for them to take that step and at least get into the playoffs, I think was nice to see. Nice to see David Bailey on defense, actually delivering as well. I sort of picked him at the beginning of the season to do well. He was on my draft bus. So it's nice watching him sort of grow in that role and become dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, being a
Yeah.
homer, I'd like to mention kind of the slow re-rise of Arch Manning in terms of his development over the year. I think it was nice to sort of once the Heisman #1 pick nonsense had kind of died down because of the fact that he had a crap start to the year. From about, I would say, week 5 onwards, he started to show real improvements throughout the year.
Yeah.
Even without a run game, because we didn't have one. But I think he showed towards the end of the year, he showed, or at least anyone watching him, he showed the potential as to why people put him so up on that pedestal. I think we started to see the reasons why. And I think he naturally will be in the conversation as around the #1 pick whenever he does go in the draft, because he just has all the qualities that are needed, and he seemingly has all of the running ability that none of his other family members ever seem to have.
Yeah, he's got the one bit of athletics in that family's genes went into Arch Manning. That's
Yeah,
it. It
it's
only
all
went
went
into
into
Arch
He
Arch.
got them all. Yeah, he got them all.
No, I feel this is a point I wanted to make, and to be fair, I've got it in my notes, and I was like, I want to see if Sam brings it up, and you did, so thank you.
Yeah, well,
The
of
rise
course I
of
was going to bring
Arch
it. It's the
Manning,
only team that I actually watch, so
but
let's bring
it
it.
is the mention of, we talk about Arch Manning's Heisman campaign thing at the start of the year. That again, we said at the start of the year, Arch Manning hasn't done this. This isn't a Manning family narration. This is just generic media saying he is a Manning, so he's the greatest thing to have ever lived. Once he was allowed to come into his own, he really came into his own, and I'm really excited to see what he does next year. Steve Sarkisian had managed to, I think, scheme a little bit better for Arch Manning and make some things happen that were better for him. He was on a better page with his receivers. He was on a better page with his old line. These are the things that, and correct me if I'm wrong though, it at times became a bit of a patchwork old line for Texas.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I think to be honest, our best O lineman was the rookie guard, left guard, and he was our best, and he still was making mistakes on a regular basis, but he was putting up some great numbers, and it's been very much a case of, that O line has been terrible, and we've had to try and work it. The run game's been absolutely dreadful, and it's been defense and basically trying to get wide receivers in the game, which sometimes I think in college can be very difficult. So it's I think given the situation, I mean, I've talked multiple times this year about how I think Sarkisian has been probably at fault for a lot of the losses, especially a lot of the close losses, in the way that he's schemed the game and not really helped Manning in terms of how to get the best out of him. But in terms of sort of how it's kind of come around, I mean, we don't know how it's going to turn out next year because we've decided to just blow it up and bring in a whole new set of wide receivers, brand new running backs, a whole new O-line. Like everything's pretty much going to be reset from the start. So it'll be interesting to see if Arch can kind of build those relationships again. Because obviously, I mean, even his college roommate Parker Livingston has defected to this bloody Sooners. So it's going to be
of all people
of all teams to go to, like especially. But I mean, there's again, I don't want to go too off track, but apparently that was all due to the fact that we basically said you're going to accept this or nothing, and it was really undervalued in terms of the nil deal. So Oklahoma came in and offered him the best amount, and they're relatively local, so you can kind of understand it. But from a Texas point of view, he said he was Texas through and through, and then he goes to the one team you do not go to. It's kind of like, but
he's going to get a lovely welcome next year round.
Oh yeah, he's going to be. But then again, there are a few, Texas fans who have said, just go and do you. At the end of the day, we'll watch you do well as an individual. The moment we come to play you, we hope you fall flat on your face. But for the rest of the season, go and do well individually. Which is, is always nice to see. But we've made moves and we've brought in a few different players, and I'm hoping it'll work. But yeah, in terms of Arch Manning throughout the 25 season, I think he's shown what he can do. I think, was it in the bowl game he ran a 50-yard touchdown or something? So
yeah. The beginning of the season just reminds me of that Life of Brian sketch where you can imagine Arch Manning putting his head out the window saying, "I'm not the Messiah," and everyone's going, "He's the Messiah.
He's the Messiah. He's not the Messiah." Yeah.
There's just so much focus around it, and maybe a lot of that heat has gone off now, and he can just go about his business, I wouldn't say under the radar, but just a bit more quietly.
Just without that absolute intense glare, I suppose, right? And Sam, you were, giving you your credit. You were the first one, like way back when, sort of pouring water on the flames, trying to douse it down, just say, just calm. He's not played. He's not actually played. Let's just give him a few games. And his first few games were a bit rough and ready, and therefore,
he had to go up against Ohio State's defense.
It was a bit of a baptism of fire, wasn't it?
It helps as well, I think, having your family who they are, them being able to say, "Listen, this is how we're going to navigate the noise. This is how we're going to get through it. Let's do it together." And I do want to move on to the postseason now. And I think, look, we've been through the postseason, especially the playoffs. We've ran through the way the playoffs work, the committee and all that sort of stuff, and we've beaten that horse to death. So I'm going to try and avoid...
Yeah, we have to avoid any comments about committees and voting, don't we?
Yes, we're not, because the NFL Hall of Fame committee have proper buggered up this week.
Wrong podcast. Sorry, that's the hurdle of the line. You guys can run with that one.
Yeah, but I think the important thing here
it is kind of college related.
I mean, well, it is now, and it's college football Ireland related. By the way, which will be in a few months. We've got going to August. That's
7 months.
2 games away. By the way, that is the second game in the calendar. Forget spring games; they don't count. We've got the Senior Bowl. The next
Classic.
competitive game of college football is the Aer Lingus Classic, by the way. Buzzing. We've just got our little group chat going back again for Dublin because Mrs. Fletch needs to plan now. I love my wife so much.
We love Becca and her planning 7 months in advance.
Yes, we do.
I'd be coming.
If she didn't, I'd be planning 2 weeks after it happened, and then it's a bit late then.
Yeah.
So
you'd still be planning to go to Frankfurt.
Yeah. So the idea here being like, we've been through the playoffs. We did our episodes throughout the playoffs were dedicated to playoff games with a little bit of mention and everything else. We've beaten that horse now. We've spoke about it. We spoke about the national championship at length. We know Indiana won the national championship. These are some of the things that maybe we didn't get a chance to speak about. There are a couple of players, like I say, to transition this a little bit, I want to talk about a couple of players I previously mentioned that I thought I'd bring up. One of them being Jeremiah Smith. And how I know that obviously they didn't survive their only game in the playoffs, and I need to take the smile off my face, but I'm not going to. Um, how impressed I was with Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and that entire receiver corps, because last year all we spoke about was how they were a Ferrari and how every play had the possibility to be an 80-yard dot and all this stuff. And I think Julian Sane was the other player I wanted to mention. How impressed I was with what they were willing to be when they didn't need to be a Ferrari, when they shouldn't be a Ferrari, when you needed them to be a bit of an off-road terrain vehicle, they were an off-road terrain vehicle. They did enough. They did the right thing. They did enough to win. And sometimes that was the most impressive part, is not the 60-yard completions. It was being willing to do exactly what they needed to do. And Julian saying was fantastic all year. Um, and I think it was as fun as it was to watch. A little bit. The playoffs were done a discredit by not being able to see them go further. I'll say that.
Yeah. Julian saying, obviously, I think he won the freshman of the year, didn't he? So, he had an unbelievable year. I think the one thing it just highlights is almost how NFL ready Jeremiah Smith is. Like, and he's not going this year. He's going to be coming next year. He's going to be a top 10 pick. I think that's without a shadow of a doubt. He's going to be in the top 10. Whatever team he joins he's going to be a star no matter what, because he has everything. And I think, like you said, what was more important in terms of their playoff featuring this year was his ability to be more than just that deep ball threat that, the one that you just throw it up there to and he's going to get it. He was having to do the hard stuff, which you're more likely to have to do in the NFL than the big flashy big plays. So I think it was good to see that side of him. And like I say, I think it just builds the tape around how good a player he is and how NFL ready he is.
Yeah, definitely. And you have a breakout season like you did in 24. It's how can you follow on from that? What's the repeat look like? And I think I'd say the same for Jeremiah Love in a way as well. And he wasn't his first season, but you have these great seasons. Can you build? Can you maintain and come back again? And I think, certainly both of those did do that and just showcase the wider side of his game as well.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers were very similar, a few less yards, which again, if we're talking more about, doing those hard yards that maybe you wouldn't have expected in the season before, 3 less touchdowns, yards at 60 less yards or 70 less yards. But apart from that, pretty much similar numbers. And to be able to put up those, over 1,000 yards in the college football is I mean, it's great numbers in the NFL. So if you can do it in the college seasons, then I think it's just as good. But I think it's, like I say, putting up in your rookie season those sorts of numbers to then back it up in your second year, as well as having to do the hard stuff. If he can do it in his third year, he'll be, like I say, he'll be a top 10 pick easily.
Yeah.
But then I think, like you say, I think Carnell Tate probably was one that
Flattered to deceive.
Yeah, in a way, I think his numbers grew each year, and part of me was a bit surprised that he went in the draft, given the way that the season went. I would have. I was half expecting him to come back another year, but again, given the wide receiver talent that's going in this year, I think it's probably helped him in a way because he is going to be a higher pick. I think it's potentially wide receiver 1 or 2 off the board. So maybe it was in terms of for his NFL career,
it'll be
the
2,
right
won't he?
decision.
Lemon will be
He'll
first.
be 1 or 2. It'll be between him and Tyson. I think he's going to be the number 1 and 2, and then Lemon, I think maybe 3. But I think he's going to be a top 3 pick in terms of wide receivers. like the likelihood is he's
Going to be
probably
playing the
going to
NFC
be,
West.
he'll probably be a you know, he's probably going to be a first round pick, I would probably say.
I could see you guys picking him up with your Falcons pick.
I hope we don't. I'd rather us go for a cornerback, but we don't need a wide receiver. Really. Hey, if Stafford comes back another year, Tay's coming back another year, and we've got Puka, we don't then need Carnell Tay on top of it. Although it would be nice, it would be an abundance of riches, but I don't think we do. I think we could probably pick up someone like a Sarah in like the third or fourth round. So I wouldn't worry too much about getting an elite wide receiver. But I think he's possibly going to go, I would say around the 15, 16 mark is probably about
depending on what
realistic.
teams would end up in there and what they need.
Yeah.
He's definitely he's one of those ones that a team may trade up a couple of spots in that sort of area for.
Yeah,
I think he's got that playmaking ability to add, especially for a team that's found a quarterback or it's kind of gone, okay, you're our guy, and needs weapons around them.
Yeah,
maybe springs to mind somewhere like that.
Maybe somewhere like a Saints pick would be quite sensible.
Yeah, I was thinking New Orleans because they've gone with Shuck, right? He's their guy.
Shuck's the number one guy, yeah.
So
and
he now needs bits.
He needs
right?
weapons. They've got Olave. They've got, they've still got.
Kamara's on his
Kamara will be
last
gone,
leg, isn't he?
Is it Devin Neal? I think is their number one now after Kamara.
Yeah.
So they I mean, to be fair, they
might go Love. They might take Jeremiah Love. They're going to take Jeremiah Love. Thinking about it now, yeah. We're talking about. Sorry, we've gone completely off topic as we normally do. Start talking about where people are getting drafted.
But I think it just shows you the importance of picking the right time when to go in the draft. And I think, like I say, for him, it was the right time. But
yeah,
I think
because they say next year he's going up against some
Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith. Sorry,
Jeremiah Smith, and potentially
guys,
he's just like he's got to look there and go, pale in comparison. I've got to take what I can get this year. Yeah, so it makes sense.
But I think he's an interesting one as to I think he's obviously put up better numbers than he did the year before, but it maybe wasn't as electric as maybe we wanted him to be. But I think it's he's an interesting one going forward. I think probably someone who I think again we were talking about throughout the season, probably maybe not so much throughout the season, but I think certainly towards the end, and I think going into the postseason, obviously declaration is Sadiq from Oregon. I think he's he's really sort of. I think this season really upped his stock. I think again, you look at the start of the season, probably someone like Oscar Delp was probably seen as the number one pick, and I think Sadiq's kind of really shown his talent this year, and I think
in all aspects.
Yeah, and I honestly, again, he's someone that I could easily see going in the first round, in the way that he's played and how that sort of developed. So he's someone that I think, I mean, coming from a team that supports the Rams, who this season has loved using 3 tight ends in multiple plays, it's he's someone that I like to look out for. So yeah, he's had a good season. Again, someone who's improved year on year. And not only just improving his receiving yards, but improving his blocking ability and his scheming within the games. I think he's someone that, again, although his sort of stats aren't like a Trey McBride or a Tyler Warren level, they're still pretty good. I mean, still to be on 530 yards in what is seen as a relatively potent offense, 8 touchdowns. He's going to be important, especially for a lot of teams who, it's probably a position where I think this last few years with Bowers and McBride and Laporta and that, I think is becoming a lot more of a skilled position to focus on. So again, someone who I think has kind of raised his stock and has really sort of pushed looking towards his career in the NFL.
And a great intelligent guy to go with it as well. From everything I've seen, the sort of intangibles that I know the NFL look for will all be there. I don't think he's going to have any trouble in those interview scenarios.
Yeah. Well, as long as he doesn't turn up and just do a Shador Sanders and just kind of go, I'm here, look at me, I don't need to do any tape watching.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Are we okay to finish off this episode now and try and do this little test together?
Let's do it.
I think so, because we did go quite a way off of kilter there. So you left us to our own devices, and we went from players that we like to see to about drafting.
Yeah, I apologize. I've drank way too much water today, and a full carton of Arctic iced coffee. Other iced coffees are available. And are also delicious.
Rods.
So
if Rods wants to sponsor us, just saying.
Anyone wants to sponsor us. If anybody wants to sponsor us, no matter. It doesn't have to be iced coffee.
Forget the network. Lions Guy Fletch is all you need. Arctic iced coffee. Just Lions Guy Fletch. So this challenge it's really quick. You've got a 20-minute timer. It's via Sporkle, who are fantastic. I will put the link in the description of the episode because they do loads of great little interactive quizzes that are all centered around sports. All of the AP top 25s this year, right? I do believe that if you input one name and it was in multiple, it transfers across multiple. So you don't have to put like Indiana in.
You don't have to say Indiana all the time. Okay.
So just throw out Texas straight away. You'll cover about 20 of them.
Texas. So, I think you probably have to say Texas A&M, Texas Tech.
We've got 20 minutes. I'm going to click play quiz. If we can try and be nice about it, that'd be great, and not all shout out different names at the same time. But I realise who I'm talking to, me included in this one. So, right, let's just get on with it. So I'm going to click play quiz, throw out a name. Adam, you start.
Penn State. No.
Yeah, Penn State. They are in.
They were in for the first 6 weeks, I think.
Anyway.
University of South Florida.
Will it let you write USF? That's the big question.
Yes, it did. It did let me write USF. Sam, throw us a name out.
Texas.
Oh.
If you just do Texas, will it put in? I won't do all of them.
Texas A&M.
Yeah,
Texas.
just do them all.
Texas. I'll put one in, and obviously I'll put in Michigan. They were in it quite a few times.
Obviously.
We'll go back through Oregon. I need to actually open the text. Come on, computer. Don't be slow now. All right, Oregon. There we go. They're in. Sam throws another name out.
Texas Tech.
Iowa State Cyclones.
Yeah, Iowa State. They're in. Kansas State. They were also.
The first week, were they?
Yes, because it was a top 25 matchup in Ireland.
Just.
Ohio State.
State.
They were definitely in. Come on. Do the awkward ones. Did Tulane make it towards the end of the season?
Yeah, Tulane were in at one point.
Tulane were in for a week, weren't they?
Tulane. No, they were not.
They were not in the AP, but they were in the UK poll, weren't they?
Florida State.
No, sorry, they did. I had to type them out twice. Apologies. Yeah. Tulane
Florida State.
I suppose for the first week or two we were in, weren't we? First 3 weeks.
Oh, and Florida, because I had.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did
Florida State also in? Any others we want to throw out there?
Navy?
I mean, the obvious Georgia. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, Georgia.
I mean, the obvious ones we'll get to. Come on, no, get the awkward ones out of the way. We know all the easy ones.
Memphis make it?
Did Memphis squeeze in towards the end, or was it Navy?
Memphis went in. Navy, Navy got in. I'm thinking if we've got some of the really awkward ones.
Wait, didn't Mean Green? Cincinnati, good one. Mean Green got in, didn't they?
Have we not done North Texas?
North Texas, Mean Green. I thought they snuck in towards it, or did they sneak it?
North Texas,
They did. I thought so. So
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati
One
were a
pick
good
me.
one. Who was the other ones who just kind of tailed off? So I suppose we've got to put Fighting Irish in, haven't we, for Nick?
Yeah,
Oh,
Notre
so well,
Dame.
we've got to
Yeah,
put fighting Notre Dame in because they're an answer.
Yeah.
Not just for Nick, they are a correct answer.
Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, yeah.
Did SMU hang around for a couple of weeks? Early
They
doors?
started
SMU got in, yeah.
SMU definitely did.
Um,
Did Clemson start off week
they
Yeah,
would have
one
done.
Clemson were
I
in it
think
for a little
they
bit.
started out
in
top 4.
top 4? Yeah, so they must have been
Oh,
in there.
preseason. So Boise State must have made the preseason, surely.
I'm pretty
Don't
sure. Yeah, Boise State was
13th?
25.
Yeah,
There you go.
13th. Miami, we might as well put Miami in. We haven't mentioned them yet.
Miami, we put USF in, haven't we?
Said Clemson.
Put USF in.
USC.
Yes, yeah,
USC,
the
yes.
Trojans were in. Yeah,
South Carolina, early doors.
yes, they were. I'm pretty sure they were in
Gamecocks.
preseason,
Yeah,
at
the
least.
Gamecocks are in. Yeah,
If I can spell it. Apparently I can't. There we go.
Oh wow, 3 weeks.
South Carolina were in. We've got the
did
majority.
Iowa?
LSU.
Did Iowa?
LSU.
Iowa snuck in at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure. No, they didn't. They didn't make it in. They made it into the the college football
UK.
playoff top 25 and the UK one.
But it didn't
but
make it to the AP. Yeah.
LSU.
LSU definitely
LSU,
floated
yeah.
around because Ole Miss. Have we mentioned Ole Miss?
Yeah, Ole Miss were definitely in there.
Well, they're definitely in there. I just
Oh,
couldn't
and
remember
then
if we mentioned them.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
Yeah,
yeah. Sam,
bastards.
yeah. Sam, yeah.
Did it? No, I was going to say something else.
Did Vanderbilt? Hang on, Vandy made it.
Vanderbilt
Yeah,
were in for
Vandy.
quite a
Yeah,
while.
Vandy were in for a while.
I feel like there's another SEC team in there somewhere.
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri were in
Yeah,
there.
Missouri,
for a
that's
while.
the one.
the Missouri were in, and then they failed miserably to be the team that we
How
thought they
much?
would.
Oh, what is it?
How
Do
many
you
we
know
got?
who?
13?
Were Duke in there ever?
No.
Sorry, I'll just put Indiana in. Duke. No, don't think Duke got in. Double check. Nope.
No.
Boston College? No. No.
Georgia Tech.
BYU. Georgia Tech.
BYU, yeah, Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech did, yeah.
If I can spell Georgia, that would be nice.
Surely you've spelt it once correctly already.
I have, but apparently it's Jaffa now.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
Well, let's put it this way. Week 16, we've still got number 15, 19, 20, 21 to put in. We've almost completed one at the end of season 1. We're really close on week 5. Who else made the cut right at the end of the year? James Madison.
Yeah, JMU.
Yeah.
They got in. They were 19.
Navy? No, said Navy didn't go in, did they? Didn't make it.
I
Did
feel
Army
like
ever get in?
Arizona State.
Yes.
Yeah, Arizona
Yes,
State. Yeah.
Arizona
Army
State.
didn't. Arizona got in. There we go. Arizona.
Yeah,
Arizona
Arizona
and
State.
Arizona State as well were in.
Arizona State got in. Number 15. There's a team on the tip of my tongue. I can't quite.
Tigers.
Arkansas.
No,
Razorbacks?
Arkansas. I can try, but I don't
Pretty
think
sure
Arkansas.
I'm sure the Razorbacks were in
were
early
terrible.
weeks. They were,
They
yeah,
were
but they were in.
terrible.
They
Head
were in
coach got
week 1 and
sacked.
2. Yeah, but they were still in.
They weren't in, but I thought
Utah.
Utah Utes.
Yes.
The Utes. Yes.
And they were the team because Carl Whittingham, who's head coach of some massive, amazing school. We've got 1 to go in week 16, 1 to go in week 15. So who would have dropped? That would be the same team who dropped from 16 to 20 in week 16.
Week 15. Who had a bad week 15?
Well, week 15 would be after the final week of the season. Then week 16 would have been after the conference championship. So you're probably looking at someone who lost the conference championship.
Did UNLV
Did?
ever be it? Weren't UNLV ever in?
Oh, it's a
UNLV is a
shout.
good shout.
No,
Oh,
unfortunately.
really?
I'm trying to think of teams that again. I'm trying to think of conference championships.
Washington? No.
Virginia.
Virginia.
Oh, Virginia Tech, wasn't it? Or
Virginia Tech as well.
Virginia.
Oh, try Virginia Tech.
Did
I don't think
Jacksonville
Virginia.
State didn't make it, did they? No.
No, they definitely didn't. No conference
Mm.
USA team made it in.
Oh, what about Tennessee?
Tennessee. We haven't mentioned
There
yeah,
we
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
go. Sorry, Mrs. Fletch. So we've got week 15 all filled out. Week 16, we need 13 and 14. I've got one left.
Louisville?
Louisville got in as
There
once
we
they
go.
beat Miami. They got in.
There's an I before after the U.
Yes, there is. Not Louisville, it's Louisville.
Louisville.
Yep, Louisville got in. We've got one more in week 12, one more in week 11, one more week 10, one more week 9. We're so close here, lads. I think we can do it.
We've got
One more week 8.
we've got 17 left to go find in total.
Roughly, yeah. One
So it
more
was
in
12
preseason.
in the preseason.
Have we done Virginia?
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
done
I
Virginia.
put Virginia in a couple of minutes ago because that was the team I was at. They lost a conference championship and got put down, and it was Virginia.
Was Colorado
Was
ever in
Nebraska
it?
ever in there?
Nebraska might have snuck in at the end.
What about
So-
just Kansas?
Look, because
Kansas
when I
State?
put in Kansas State,
Oh, did
It
it
would have
throw
fallen
Kansas
in.
out?
Illinois.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Illinois, because they were in really early on until they
Yeah.
got absolutely demolished
got
by Indiana.
Dumped. Yeah, that was it. That was the one, wasn't it? Illinois, Indiana, when Illinois got bumped.
So early season, week 3 and 4, we've got one left. Week 5, we've got one left. We've completed 6 to. Have we completed 6 to? No, we haven't. So week 10, we've got one left. Week 11, we've got one left. Week 12.
I think a lot of these is very down the bottom. There's a lot of them that are around there. I think there's
Ducked
going to
in
be
and
one
out,
team
isn't
that
there?
they're repeated.
That went
Yeah,
in, out,
it will
in,
be
out.
one team that came
Yeah.
in and out.
We've done Houston, haven't we?
Houston, I don't think we have.
Don't think we have done Houston.
Well done. There we go. Houston made up 2 of them.
Memphis?
We've
You
done
said
Memphis.
Said Memphis. Oh.
Week 11 and 12, we're missing. Week 11, 12, 14, there's one team each. 5, 3, and 4. And like I say, this is probably one team or 2 teams that crept in, crept back out.
Trying to think of teams that were on the periphery a lot.
I'm trying to think of teams here that we argued about potentially
Should they have gone in?
on
Should
the
they have been?
podcast, or that where the UK poll actually had it differently. And
Auburn.
Auburn. There
There
we
you
go. That's
For
early
that.
doors. So we've got week 5, 11, 12, and 14.
More periphery teams. Pitt.
Ooh.
Oh,
Pitt.
Pitt, yeah.
There we go. Well done, Pitt. We've
2
got
more to go.
2 more. That was
we're
a great
fine.
one.
Week 5.
Week
Week
5
5.
and week 11.
Oh, so we're talking
One.
somebody who had a good week 10. Oh, one week 10. Fuck it hell. Who?
You can't even say, oh, well, what's a team in week 9 that had a good game? Because they would have been already in if they were in week 9.
Mm.
Oh, we're 2 away. It was so close.
Oh, the Horned Frogs, TCU.
TCU. Did they ever
Well, they in it,
TCU
one
got
of
in.
them.
We've got one more in week 11. One more for week 11.
Who
That's
beat
a
Georgia?
great shout.
Somebody beat Georgia Tech.
I'm just trying to think of the teams that I put in our predictions each week because those are the sort of teams that I would have thrown in.
There was
I
a
see.
team that beat Georgia Tech.
Every single person in this room has been a top 25 voter in some form as well. So we've had to do this ourselves.
Did we put in Washington?
I
Someone
said
mentioned
Washington.
it earlier.
I mentioned it. I'm not sure if they ever.
There you go.
Done.
I said Washington. I said Washington. It was me. I said Washington. I'm
Okay,
sure I
well,
said
I
it.
know. I thought someone did, and I thought they
I-
were in it.
Lots of people were saying lots of things. I may have just missed it. I apologize. So 7 minutes to go. We have done all 400 top 25 ranked teams in 2025. I can see two of me, one in the periphery, one in front of me. I'm gonna click out on that one. That was jarring.
No, that was very
Um,
weird. That was good. That was good
well
stuff. I
done,
enjoy. I thought we did pretty well there, considering
especially some of those periphery teams.
those edgy ones that just popped in and out, and it's just like you had one good week or two good weeks, and you had to
The
just
Pitt and
remember.
TC, that Pitt and TCU shout, by the way, were brilliant ones. I would have
Yeah.
never I wouldn't have come up with them ones.
The only
Um,
reason I remembered TCU is because I had their logo downloaded on my phone and used for 3 weeks on the predictions, and I just had it was ingrained in my brain that they were at least around there because they were playing well, weren't they?
Playing well,
They were.
and they're coming over, aren't they? So
Yes, I was going to say, and double relevant because they will be here in August. Now, I think that's just about sums up today's episode. Well, I say sums up today's episode. That can wrap up today's episode. I appreciate all of you gentlemen for joining. It has been a great season, one of, I think, personally, college football's best seasons in terms of the drama, the chaos, and everything that's gone on within it. And it has been a pleasure from the very bottom of my heart to have spent as much of it with each and every single one of you as I have done. So, Adam, Sam, Gary, and Nick, and Jimmy, and Will, and from the off season last season to say Ollie Hodgkinson,
everybody else who's interacted with us.
Yeah, Spencer. Sorry, the guys like we've had Ollie Hodgkinson, Spencer McLaughlin, we've had Stephen McPhillip. If I am missing anyone there, I am so sorry.
Hang on, we had our other guy. Who was the guy we had? American guy who came on, talked about Appalachian. Joe. Yep, don't forget Joe.
Joe Hio. So we thank every single one of you. And again, if you have listened, if you have tuned in, if you have joined in any way, shape, or form, whether it's as a listener, and you have, even if you've just listened and never interacted, we genuinely cannot thank you enough. The numbers that I've seen this podcast do this year have been magnificent. So before we do go, yes, we will be continuing throughout the off season. We'll be back next week. We will be back as well, there'll be no back. We will just be here throughout the off season.
We'll be back. We're not going anywhere. However, join us as we look ahead to 2026 and we activate the kingdom. Oh my God.
Just a reminder though, to activate the kingdom and to join us on Discord, on social media and all those things, head to the links in the description. And Adam, just before we go, remind people where they can find you and everything that you are doing.
Yep, so collegefootballukview.com is the blog where I will continue to put posts up through the off season as well. And CFBUKView on X is where you can find me.
Lovely stuff. And again, as always is the case, I think you're just baked into our description now anyway, because I don't really bother to change it. You can find every single link to follow Adam anyway on our in the episode, inside the description of the episode on YouTube down there, on audio only inside the app. We won't be going anywhere, but we hope you can join us for the rest of the off season. Enjoy it, lads.